All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dhruv Chakravarti from Texas A&M University, and I am filling in for Julie Ma, and joining me is Alan Chalker from the Open On Demand project. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us at the EasyBuild user meeting. I've been listening into some of these talks, and they've been absolutely riveting. I wish I was there. Uh, so, open on demand, we are going to get first talk about acknowledgements. Very grateful for continued funding from the U.S. National Science Foundation. And for those of you who can read award numbers, the first two numbers signify the years the project was funded. So you can look at almost 10 years of continued funding and significant investments from the U.S. National Science Foundation that have really allowed this program to grow, flourish, and impact science now across the world. We have a large number of partners across the United States and are really growing larger in the world as well. I am very new to this program. I'm co-PI on the new Good Luck Award, and we'll talk about that later as we move through this. Okay, next slide. All right, so our agenda for today is to talk about Open on Demand and how Open on Demand is making it easier for students, researchers, and industry professionals to work on large-scale computing and supercomputing devices. We'll talk about some of the technical updates and how we hope all of you can get involved, work on this project, become a part of the community, and we'll have some time for discussion as well. I'm not watching my chat because I'm limited to a single screen. So please feel free to unmute, ask questions. Okay, so why open on demand? And it comes down to this. Running open on demand is easy. It's easier for administrators, it's easier for users. And basically, what it does is it allows you to access your organization's supercomputers, all large scale computing resources through the web to compute from anywhere on any kind of device. It is accessibility, it's ease, it's availability all rolled into one. Installation, zero. You run it entirely on your browser, so no client software installation is required. So all the onerous security requirements and other things that an institution may have, they're addressed much early on. So it's the adoption rate's very high. It's easy to use because you start computing immediately. You log in, you get started. It's got a simple interface that users understand that they're used to. It's got the GUI and the click button interface that our generation of student researchers work with. They get it. And finally, it's compatible with any device. You can launch it from a browser, even on a cell phone or mobile phone or a tablet. So it's computing literally anywhere from anywhere. Uh, Open on Demand is a product from the Ohio Supercomputing Center. And this is where the start happened. You can run it on the laptop. You're seeing this, great demonstration of the command line interface being pulled up, run it from your cell phone. And trust me, this works outside of Ohio as well, from a tablet, on your TV, using a gaming console. And you can see some really nice visualizations there. While your car is parked, you can run it inside your Tesla. Or, while Alan's taking his break, he likes to also run it via VR. So we see a number of really like fantastic use cases of how this device can be ported, how this program can be ported and used in the space where you want to use it, which makes it highly applicable for today's science. Not only is it working on large scale computing resources at university campuses and research sites, it's also been ported to the commercial cloud with partnerships with Amazon Web Services, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud. Now you're seeing a video of Azure HPC on demand. This has all the bells and whistles that Open on Demand comes with. And during the recent Good Luck conference, which I hope some of you attended, or were able to attend in Boston, Microsoft formalized its support for Open on Demand on Azure. So lots of good things coming down the pipeline, and just the usability of this interface is going through the roof. Installing Open On Demand. So you administer remote web access to your supercomputers, and you transform the way users work and learn. And we also emphasize the word learn over here because not only is open on demand for scientific research, for engineering research, but it can also be it's used in classroom education, and that's a pivot point we are focusing on, and there'll be more of that over the next few years. It's got a low barrier to entry, so users, researchers with all kinds of skill levels have an alternative to the command line interface. The command line interface has been very powerful. I used it myself in grad school, um, but we're getting researchers and students from different fields of science, from different fields of life, and they need something that just gets them started. Open on demand meets that need head on. It's free and it's open source. We gather knowledge from a large community. It's got a community of developers, contributors. It's a robust and diverse community. And finally, it's configurable and flexible, and you can deploy your applications to meet your needs. It's grown. Adoption's been high. Very excited about this. I want to say pretty much, every continent has open on demand installed. We can see like the adoption rates going up. Very excited about what's happening in Europe and the United States. But what's also remarkable is the amount of growth we're seeing in Australia, Africa, South America, and in Asia. So it speaks to the usability of the platform. It speaks to the portability of the platform and how the community is coming together with over 2,100 organizations. And it's this community adoption and the community development that's driving the process. Here are some example deployments of Open On Demand, and these are largely US centric over here. Uh, from nonprofit and research centers, you'll see groups like the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, Riken in Japan, the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, Seattle Children's, um, international academia, University of Manitoba in Canada, Cambridge in England, uh, University Malaya, and others just joining in. It's a very rich community on the government side in the United States. And for those who are familiar with this is a difficult space to get adoption in. We're also seeing adoption from groups like Idaho National Lab, from Berkeley National Labs. We are impacting several large minority serving institutions, including Texas A&M University, the University of Arizona, Rutgers, private academia that extends to Harvard, Caltech, Yale, Princeton, Duke, public academia includes University of Florida, CU Boulder, University of Vermont, Virginia Tech, and industry. And this is like industry just growing, and it's a huge, very impactful. And that includes NVIDIA, SpaceX, Alter, and as I mentioned earlier, we're getting more support from Azure and Microsoft there as well. So, lots of excitement over here and a growing community. And the idea is to like bring this community together and enable science. And there's a reason why that's happening. These are the enabled utilities and apps. This is not an exhaustive list. This is the list that we put together now. And this list keeps getting bigger. It continues to grow. And, new deployments are possible. And one of our focuses is to make these apps more usable, offer them in a setting that we will call the appverse, so that the community can contribute apps, consume our apps, get benchmarks on apps, and just grow this community. We're looking a little at the impact at the Ohio Supercomputing Center. So on the left, you see 2017, and we see another time snapshots from 6 years later in 2023. The number of fields have already grown. We grow from 28 to 45 at a mature center like the Ohio Supercomputing Center. That's impressive. And you can see that as the fields of science have changed, we see a small pivot with new fields coming in and the biological side, and you look at the engineering and tech side. What that tells you is that new fields, as they come in, as you go from 28 to 45, they're really driving this adoption for open on demand and the ease and accessibility it provides. Simultaneously, we are not losing researchers. We are bringing researchers along. So not only are we continuing to support people who have needs in high performance computing and supercomputing, who are traditional users, we are also bringing on new people. So it's a win-win for people engaged from both fronts. what does the support model look like, right? This is where it all comes together or it all falls apart. So the discussions and discourse, you can get help and you can look at old questions, you can put in your own questions. For those who are familiar with discourse, you can look at users and administrative questions, and the link to the discourse channel is included here. There's a Slack workspace, there's an open Slack workspace where you can communicate. Alan pretty much lives over there. So if you need to reach out and you ask questions, it's a vibrant and diverse space. There's GitHub documentation, and the documentation outlines installation steps, app guidelines, release notes, and a lot of other features. And finally, there's a newsletter. Please subscribe to this newsletter and get notices about future events, releases, user stories. It's openondemand.org/newsletter. Community events. So every week we host a tips and tricks call. It's hosted by the larger Open On Demand community, where people who have Open On Demand installed on their machine share stories. People who are administering Open On Demand instances on their machines share stories. And once in a while, we even have a deeper dive into how do you do this specific thing with Open On Demand. It takes place on the first Thursday of every month at 1 p.m. Central in the United, sorry, 1 p.m. Eastern in the United States. And it is a virtual call. Please join us. And, this is a fantastic place. It's a very friendly community. It's an embracing community that welcomes new people. In addition to the tips and tricks calls, there are open office hours that are hosted by the development team. These are over Zoom, where you can meet the developers, ask questions, say you're facing a specific issue that you're trying to solve. That is a good time to meet. These are held on the second Tuesday of every month from 11:15 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Eastern. This is the US time. This is for the development team. Asia Pacific time versions of these calls will be starting in the second half of 2025. So these just give you a fantastic opportunity to join in and become part of this very vibrant community. The impact from open on demand, not just, it's one thing to be, hey, these are the features, but let's talk about some of the impact over here. And these are some news articles from HPC Wire, which is a publication in the United States for HPC. And you have some examples about how the first is how open on demand is available on Anvil. Anvil is one of the larger access resources for scientific research in the US. It's available on Lumi, where it's being used for quantum mechanics. It's been deployed on the AWS parallel cluster. And then there are some highlights from how it's being used in Melbourne and how HPC-driven apps are being offered as a service model and how portals are now offered to enterprise by Nortech. So very different impact sites which are being covered by these news stories as well, in addition to the fantastic science that our researchers are producing using this machine. So in addition to getting involved, there's also a pilot support subscription. This is a new program. It's a pilot, and it gives you access to priority support channels and staff expertise. So, you really want this. You need some help. You want to get started soon, and you can use the staff expertise as a fantastic way to get started. You utilize the best practices, and more importantly, it helps us with continuing open on demand into the future because it helps us become more sustainable, and the plan is to become, and it offers a funding model. The pilot will run through 2025, and as you become a client, we'll be collecting feedback. There'll be a review process, and through that process, we will also learn what other services are required that people can benefit from, and how do we put them in place. Benefits include priority discourse channel, priority triage of GitHub issues, the scheduled one-on-one office hours, invitation to special events at major conferences, and participation in advisory working groups. So you get this whole set of benefits. So please participate in the pilot support program as well. Moving on to the second item on our agenda, the technical updates and getting involved. So here's the good news. Version 4.0 is available. If you're new to Open On Demand, That's a great place to be. And Open on Demand is building a vibrant open source ecosystem. There's a developer relations program manager. GitHub on demand issues are being reviewed, and there's increased engagement with the larger community here. Global batch connect items in on demand files are defining queues and node times in one place. They're dismissible and required announcements, so you can configure alerts, which is very helpful depending on your cluster and the kind of alerts you want to send out. I know at our machines at Texas A&M, that is a very handy feature. System status page, which has your cluster status and details that researchers want to see. And oftentimes this is the first thing a researcher sees before submitting jobs. And the file editor has been refreshed with community-driven UI improvements. So overall, as you're going through this presentation, I hope you're getting the sense that there's a maturity to this product. There is a community-driven This is a community-driven product, and with every version, we're trying to address what the community is needing. So it's very organic, and it's growing at a pace with the community. And so as you come into this, like you're welcome, and we will embrace you as well. Development planning. So this is how things are happening right now. So issues are reported in Discourse or GitHub. We are looking at them closely. They're analyzed and prioritized because there's a scale. A previous speaker from AMD, I guess that was the unrecorded part, also spoke about AMD has a similar aspect as well. And then there's an execution process where developers from the community or core team pick up these issues, address them. The changes are reviewed and included in the next release. That's the process that we have. And when it comes to issue prioritizing, the impact points are user impact, what kind of development effort is needed, and the alignment with other enhancements in the release. So it's again holistic, community driven, and at the end of the day, looking at how do we make science more impactful. Security issues, those are critical. Patches are developed quickly for high priority issues. Bugs, these include unexpected or unintended behaviors. Those get the next priority level and addressed according to importance, how many people are using them. And finally, new features. People are, we always enhancing infrastructure, integration, and addressing the needs of the community. Hopefully, this gives you an idea of how issues are prioritized. Once again, it's community driven. There's a core team behind this, and uh, all of this just comes together. Having said that, this is a great segue to Good Luck, which is the new open on demand grant that was funded by the National Science Foundation. This is a 5-year, $5 million award by the CSSI program. I'm a member of the team, and the team includes the Ohio Supercomputer Center with Alan, Dave, Karen, and all the other good people, the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center with Julie Ma and Lizzie and Andrew, Texas A&M University with me, Marina Spennings, and the University of Maryland, where Alan Sussman has joined the team. Good Luck stands for Growing Open on Demand, Leveraging Unified Community Knowledge. And trust me, that's all that this project's about. We want to build pathways to make solutions, offer solutions for sciences, engineering, and education. You're thinking of how to bring apps together, create affinity groups where people can come and contribute, and design custom interfaces and offer classroom guides. Custom interfaces is where the whole EasyBuild process comes in, and you're looking at, segues to apps, and you're thinking about scientific applications. So how does one integrate EasyBuild into all of this? I would be remiss to not talk about the Global Open on Demand Conference 2025 in Boston, Massachusetts at Harvard. We had good fun. We also had a good time. Good was the running fun. It was a good conference. Here are some lasting memories from the conference. You can see Alan speaking, Emily's there, Julie speaking. It was an absolutely fantastic time. And I strongly encourage you to visit with us in 2026. This conference is this beautiful mix of not just developers and practitioners and researchers, but just where everything, all the magic comes together, and you can feel the love, the warmth, and the welcomeness of this community. If you are waiting to connect with Open On Demand, we are going to be at Perk 25 in Columbus, Ohio, really close to where Open On Demand comes from. We'll also be at the ISC um, conference later this year at SciPi, at SC25, and SGX3. Please take a moment to sign up for our mailing list. You can reach out to Julie. So she's Jema at openondemand.org or Emily at emofat at openondemand.org. If you go through the QR code, that should get you there. Or else, if you visit openondemand.org/sign up, that should also get you to the sign up sheet. I'll pause here for a few seconds so folks can sign up. All right. And finally, I'll open the floor to discussions. Thank you, and stop sharing.
We can.
Yes, no echo anymore. So, Alan, Alan, do you want to take the question in the chat, or should I start and you can piggyback?
Your call. What do you want to do?
Yeah, so Constantine asked, thank you, Constantine. How much disruption to users is it to update Open On Demand from version 3 to version 4? Short answer is it depends on the amount of customization you've done. If you have done a lot of customization using a lot of the passenger apps and you build dashboards, uh, administrators have to put in the work, but for users, it should be seamless. Alan, do you want to add anything to that?
I'll just point out that when we make a major version number going from say 3 to 4, really this really probably should have been more like a 3.2 release. But the reason we had to go to 4 was because there are breaking changes, and some of those breaking changes are outside of our control. They're as a result of various dependencies that we have in there. So it, you know, it really, Drew gave the correct answer, but I wanted to everybody to understand why we called this 4.0 as opposed to calling it say 3.2 or something like that. So yeah. Okay, so there's a follow-on question here in terms of, oh, sorry. I'm not sure what you mean by the Puppet module. Puppet, maybe. Um, so so I think the Puppet module you're talking about is actually, we at OSC utilize on-demand in production, and we expose to the community not just open on demand, but things that are specific to OSC's on demand. So I think what you're talking about is actually the OSC specific Puppet module that we use to manage our on demand instance, which absolutely is updated because we're always running the bleeding edge at OSC and exposing that. But I want to caution you that if you're relying upon that Puppet module, it probably requires a certain amount of localized customization in order to deploy it. We have a variety of different ways that you can install and configure Open On Demand in terms of from source. You can do RPMs. Just a variety of different approaches there. Ansible roles, things like that. So, hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, so it really upgrading from 3.0 to 4.0 should in many situations be relatively seamless unless there are some specific customizations that you put in that it might break. And we're usually pretty careful about calling out, hey, there be dragons here if you're doing this type of customization because it might not work. Oh, thank you, Drew, for pointing out yeah. So Drew linked to the Puppet module in GitHub, and if you notice, the link that he gave is under not the Open OnDemand repo, it's under the OSC repo, which is what I was trying to iterate that it's that. Um, so I don't think that it's going to change very much, but you'll see that we absolutely the Puppet module is now up to version 7.x and it supports OnDemand 4.0 in the repo. Um, I want to just real quick address some of these other questions in reverse here. How stable is OnDemand against version changes of Azure Cycle Cloud? Um, I think it's relatively stable. So one of the nice things about Microsoft Azure is that Microsoft internally is supporting Open OnDemand officially. In fact, they just last week at Good announced some really cool config tools that they've brought into production supporting. So, we at OSC and the core Open OnDemand team don't uh we don't support Azure directly. We support it through official Microsoft staff who we work very, very closely with on there. So that, hopefully that kind of helps give you. So I don't know your question of how stable it is. I think it's relatively stable because they are all in on it. They're offering up a solution to folks for sure on there. Um, uh, in terms of let's see, I'm gonna go back real quick. What types of breaks are breaking changes for Open OnDemand? So, a good example of that is uh, Node.js version. So, Node.js up to 20, uh, isn't really supported anymore because um, let me rephrase that. Ubuntu 24.04 does not have Node.js 20 on it. We upgraded to Node.js 20, so that means we had a breaking change that we couldn't support Ubuntu 24.04 as a result. Similar thing with Ruby versions. Ruby is a underlying dependency, and so some of the older versions of, for example, Red Hat Enterprise Linux support older versions. So does that help answer a little bit in terms of what types of breaking changes? It's just some of those underlying dependencies that systems have on there. Um, and then I see a question here. Have you looked into the future of Wayland? Getting any Wayland-based desktop um, to run headless with hardware 3D rendering is a bit tricky. You experiment a bit with the bleeding edge GNOME RPD. It's a promise. I'll tell you, no, we haven't. We have a very small core team, and we, can't necessarily look at all these different paths there. I will say pull requests are welcome. We're very interested in hearing from the community, hearing suggestions on where to go. But no, we really haven't. Looked at that. Doesn't mean that we're not interested in it. It's just an issue of prioritizing, time and things that we know we have to address on there. So I'm not sure if I answered that one particular. Todd is kind of having a dialogue here about what types of breaking changes. Can't you ship open on-demand server-side pieces and containers? Sure, we could do lots of things if we had time and resources. Is the bottom line here, Todd. So, we, just only have a very small in-house development team, and we have to focus on what we can deploy. And that team is really integrated with our production services here at OSC. So we do what we can to support a variety of architectures. But I'll give you an example. We don't have any ARM or PPC hardware here at OSC, yet we try to virtualize and build packages for those infrastructures. It's a relatively small part of our community, but it requires a lot of effort for us to support that. So, in terms of breaking it up into containers, yes, we potentially could do that. Are we going to do that anytime soon? I don't know. Just you know what we're looking to hear from the community. That's part of why we're here, and engaging with EasyBuild to hear what is of interest to you all, what all might reduce friction on your end on supporting it. Can't promise that we're going to do stuff. So, um, uh, yes, thank you. It's stateless. It's really easy to spin up a new one. I will emphasize that please, please, please have yourself some sort of test or dev instance of it. We have seen people run, here at OSC, we run 12 actually instances of OnDemand. We have 4 independent production instances. Um, Behind the scenes, all 4 of those instances talk to the same 3 physical clusters. And then for each of those 4 production instances, we have a dev and a test instance. All of these are on VMs, very modest VMs. We know people that run Open OnDemand on bare metal, run it on their actual, they have just a very beefy cluster slash workstation slash login node they run OnDemand on. We know entities like, for example, our friends at CSC Finland who run OnDemand fully containerized. There's lots and lots of iterations out there that you can use. And in general, upgrading from one to another is not going to be a problem because we do it all the time. We're always, every 2 weeks, we're deploying to production the latest and greatest new version here at OSC. We believe in the eat your dog food approach on there. So hopefully that's helpful. I want to be considered. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Can you hear me? I can hear you. Alan's screen is a bit crazy, but